What would make an intelligent actress, a wealthy entrepreneur, or a promising young woman surrender everything to a man like Keith Raniere? What would make them obey orders that violated their bodies, their dignity, and even their very sense of self? This is not a story about an ancient cult hidden in the mountains. This is a story about a modern cult, dressed up as a self-help organization. A cult that promised empowerment, success, and enlightenment, but delivered fear, control, and scars that would never heal. This is the disturbing psychology of NXIVM, and the man who called himself Vanguard. Don't miss a single video. Click subscribe and turn on the bell to explore the secrets of manipulation and dark psychology before it's too late. NXIVM presented itself as a path to greatness, a leadership program for people who wanted to unlock their full potential. Its seminars attracted Hollywood actresses, tech entrepreneurs, and even heirs to billion-dollar fortunes. But behind the branding and motivational speeches lay something much darker. At the center was Keith Raniere, a man who would go down in history not as a visionary, but as a master manipulator. Tonight we'll explore how he built NXIVM, how he enslaved women in a secret society, and why so many intelligent people failed to see the warning signs until it was too late. Keith Raniere was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1960. By the time he was a teenager, he was already telling people he was a genius. He claimed to have one of the highest IQs in the world. He could memorize pages of text, play piano with ease, and solve complex math problems in minutes. This self-image, the prodigy, the brilliant mind, would become the foundation of his future manipulation. In the 1990s, Raniere founded NXIVM, pronounced NXIVM. Officially, it was a company offering executive success programs. Its seminars promised to help people overcome their fears, unlock their potential, and achieve personal greatness. The branding was sleek, the marketing was convincing, and it worked. Soon, hundreds of people were paying thousands of dollars to attend. Among them were well-known actresses like Allison Mack from Smallville, as well as wealthy socialites like Claire and Sarah Bronfman, heirs to the Seagram liquor fortune. To the outside world, NXIVM was just another self-help group, but inside something more sinister was unfolding, and the first warning signs were already visible. Participants were told to hand over deeply personal information, collateral that could never be revealed, secrets, embarrassing photos, or damaging confessions. They were told this was a way to show commitment. In reality, it was the first chain in their psychological prison. Raniere knew how to attract people. He didn't appear threatening. He spoke softly, presented himself as humble, and wore casual clothes. To many, he seemed like a wise, harmless teacher. This is the psychology of authority bias. When someone appears intelligent, confident, or endorsed by others, our brains assume they must be right. NXIVM seminars reinforced this image. Members were taught to call Raniere Vanguard. His birthday was celebrated as a holy day, and slowly, they began to see him not just as a teacher, but as something close to divine. Within NXIVM, Raniere created a secret subgroup called DOS, short for Dominus Obsequious Sororium, Latin for Master over Slave Women. It was presented to women as an elite sisterhood that would empower them. In reality, it was a system of sexual slavery. To join, women had to submit collateral, nude photographs, confessions, or financial documents. Once trapped, they were branded with a cauterizing pen, the scar permanently marking them with Raniere's initials. Victims were told this pain was part of their empowerment, that by enduring suffering, they would grow stronger. Psychologists call this trauma bonding. When abuse is paired with moments of affection or promises of growth, victims develop loyalty to their abuser. They confuse control with care. And there was more. Raniere used gaslighting, making women doubt their own reality. If they cried or resisted, they were told they weren't strong enough. If they questioned him, they were told they lacked discipline. This is the power of psychological chains, stronger than iron, invisible, but unbreakable. NXIVM thrived because of the people it attracted. Wealthy backers like the Bronfman sisters funded operations with millions of dollars. Allison Mack, a TV actress, became one of Raniere's most devoted recruiters, convincing other women to join DOS. The presence of celebrities and wealthy elites gave NXIVM legitimacy. Outsiders assumed it must be trustworthy if so many successful people were involved. This is known as the halo effect, when the positive traits of one area blind us to the red flags in another. If someone is rich, attractive, or famous, we assume their choices must be correct. But inside NXIVM, the reality was nightmarish. Women were sleep-deprived, put on starvation diets, forced into sexual encounters, and ordered to recruit others. Raniere controlled every aspect of their lives. He was building not a company, but a kingdom. For years, NXIVM operated in secret, but eventually, brave survivors began to speak. In 2017, the New York Times published a shocking exposé. Former members revealed the truth about DOS, the branding, ceremonies, and the psychological abuse. The world was horrified. Soon after, federal investigators launched a full investigation. Raniere fled to Mexico, but in March 2018 he was arrested and extradited to the United States. At his trial in 2019, the evidence was overwhelming. Dozens of women testified about the abuse they suffered. Jurors heard about the collateral, the branding, the sexual slavery. The verdict was swift. Keith Raniere was convicted of sex trafficking, racketeering, and forced labor. He was sentenced to 120 years in prison. NXIVM collapsed. Allison Mack, once a rising Hollywood star, was sentenced to 3 years in prison for her role in the cult. The Bronfman sisters lost fortunes and reputations, but the scars, physical and psychological, remain with the victims to this day. NXIVM was not just a cult. It was a mirror reflecting how vulnerable we all are to manipulation. Because Raniere didn't use whips or chains, he used psychology, he used charisma, he used fear, shame, and hope. And that's what makes this story so disturbing. If intelligent, wealthy, and successful people could be manipulated into slavery, then none of us are immune. It forces us to ask a haunting question. If it happened to them, could it happen to you? If you want to uncover more stories that reveal the darkest corners of the human mind, subscribe, because the next story might just change the way you see the world. If you're captivated by this story and want to continue exploring the darkest corners of the human mind, don't miss any of our videos. Click subscribe now and activate the bell to receive all our true stories of manipulation, dark psychology, and cases that shock the world. Join our community and discover how the human mind really works before it's too late.